What if the next global crisis did not begin with a full-scale invasion or a missile strike, but with a narrow strip of water becoming too dangerous to cross? In March 2026, that fear surrounded the Strait of Hormuz, the tight maritime corridor between Iran and Oman that has once again become one of the most dangerous places on Earth. This is not just another shipping lane on the map. It is one of the world's most important energy choke points, a narrow passage through which massive volumes of oil and gas move every single day. That is why the world watches it so closely. And that is why every threat here feels bigger than the Gulf itself. That is why Washington was watching so closely, and why Iran's maritime threats were treated as something far more serious than routine political language. Because Hormuz is not just geography, it is leverage. On one side stood Iran, positioned along a waterway that gives it the power to pressure shipping, unsettle rivals, and remind the world that geography itself can be turned into a strategic weapon. On the other side stood the United States, knowing that any disruption here could become an economic crisis, a military standoff, and a diplomatic emergency almost at the same time. And that is what makes this place so dangerous. In waters like these, a crisis does not begin with total war. It begins with uncertainty. One radar signal read the wrong way, one ship moving into the wrong zone, one escort mission pushed too far, one warning missed, one order given too fast. Suddenly, what looked like a shipping problem becomes something much darker. Because once warships move in to protect tankers, every moment becomes a gamble. One mine beneath the surface, one missile launched in confusion, one vessel seized at the wrong time. One mistake in a sea already filled with fear and suspicion. That is all it takes for a tense maritime standoff to become a regional emergency. And that is the real nightmare of the Strait of Hormuz. Not just that ships could stop moving, but that even limited interference could send a global shockwave outward before a wider war has officially begun. Routes can be rerouted before the first major strike. Insurance costs can surge before governments make formal announcements. Oil prices can jump while the sea still looks calm. Markets can panic while leaders are still deciding how far they are willing to go. That is the real power of a choke point. It does not need a full war to terrify the world. Sometimes the fear of escalation is enough. Sometimes the possibility of conflict is already a crisis. And that is what makes the Strait of Hormuz so dangerous, a narrow waterway where Iran can apply pressure, where the United States may feel forced to respond, and where one wrong move could pull the entire world into chaos. One passage, two rivals, and a planet forced to hold its breath.